Are we
Let me
ready?
let you know when you're streaming. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure you're streaming before we start.
Can you hear me?
Give me 1 second, ma'am. Let me make sure we're streaming. Okay, go ahead. You are live.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Board of Education Audit Committee meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. Ms. King, may I have a roll call, please?
Janelle Astorga,
Here.
Danielle Gonzalez,
Here.
Heather Benavides,
Present.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Here.
Josefina Dominguez,
Here.
Courtney Jackson,
Here.
Scott Elder,
Here.
Renette Apodaca,
Here.
Sarah Brownstein, Heather Snedden. Heather here?
She's muted. I
Talking, but
think.
she's muted.
Heather Snedden
She's waving at you.
Okay,
She's
okay.
just muted.
and Ronaldo Tomowarita.
Here. Our first item for consideration and action is approval of the January 23rd, 2024 Audit Committee meeting agenda. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the January 23rd, 2024 Audit Committee meeting agenda. This is Josefina Dominguez.
And this is Heather. I second that.
Ms. King, can I have a roll call for the vote?
Janelle Astorga,
Yes.
Danielle Gonzalez,
Yes.
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Courtney Jackson,
Yes.
Scott Elder,
Yes.
Renette Apodaca,
Yes.
Heather Snedden,
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomowarita.
Yes. We'll now move on to our minutes approval of the minutes from the Audit Committee meeting on November 6, 2023. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from the Audit Committee meeting on November 6th, 2023.
And I'll second that. This is Heather.
Ms. King, can I call for a vote?
Janelle Astorga,
Yes.
Danielle Gonzalez,
Yes.
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Courtney Jackson,
Yes.
Scott Elder,
Yes.
Renette Apodaca,
Yes.
Heather Snedden,
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomowarita.
Yes. We will now move on to item number 4, discussion of Audit Committee membership and meeting schedule. Our presenters are here today. Renette Apodaca, the Chief Financial Officer, and Mark Turnbull, Executive Director of Accounting.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Elder. And this was a discussion of the audit committee membership and meeting schedule. The audit committee has certain responsibilities. I will go over those now. For evaluating the request for proposal for annual financial audit services, recommending the selection of the financial auditor, attending the entrance and exit conferences for the annual audit and other special audits as needed. Meeting with the external financial auditors at least monthly after audit fieldwork begins until the conclusion of the audit. Along with this, they should be accessible to the financial auditors to facilitate communication with the board and the superintendent. Tracking and reporting progress on the status of the most recent audit findings and advising the Board of Education on policy changes needed to address audit findings. Additionally, the audit committee traditionally meets 3 times a year to go over the activity fund internal audit reports and the ethical advocate statistics. In addition, they will go over reports regarding about fraud, waste, and abuse and other information. So with that all.
Thank you. Our next item is a discussion on the Audit Committee membership and meeting schedule. Like all APS Board of Education committees, the Audit Committee was traditionally a committee of the whole, meaning it comprised of all 7 board members. What the law requires is that the New Mexico Board of Education have an audit subcommittee made up of at least 2 board members, along with at least 1 volunteer member who is a parent of a student attending the school district. In our case, that is Ms. Heather Sneeden, and 1 volunteer member who has experience in accounting or financial matters. Ms. Sarah Brownstein serves in that capacity for APS. Both volunteer members have informed me that they may need to reconsider their position in the next few months, but in the meantime, I want to thank them for their service. In addition, the superintendent and the district business manager, in our case, APS Chief Financial Officer, Renette Apodaca, must serve as an ex officio committee members. The audit committee meets 7 times a year in January, April, and July to review and approve activity fund internal reports. And in July, August, September, and October to review and eventually accept the external audit. Ms. Apodaca and Mr. Turnbull, please tell us more about the responsibilities of the audit committee. Renette?
Okay. That's what Mark kind of went over.
Yeah.
Already. Yes. Uh-huh.
So with that background, I would first ask who is interested in serving on the audit committee and would be good, what would be a good meeting day and time? Board members, please let me know if you're interested in serving on the committee. Repeat the names of those who are serving. Who was serving last year? Did we have 2?
Madam Vice President, last year, all board members served in the audit committee.
Okay, okay.
So did I understand that board member Benavides signed up for one of those positions?
Yeah, okay.
For audit.
Yes. Heather? Benavides. Is there
And
anyone?
Madam Chair, I'd be happy to serve, but 7:30 in the morning is really hard with getting kids to school.
That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk
Okay,
about,
I'd be happy to serve if you need somebody.
we're going to change that. Anyone else?
No, just as a clarifying question, if it's 2 board members, does that mean the chair and 2 more or the chair and 1 more as a minimum?
It would be,
We just actually looked it up here. We believe it's a chair and 2 more.
Okay.
We believe it'd be 3 total.
Okay.
And,
So, go
and
ahead.
I have another clarifying question, which I think Board President Gonzalez can help with this. Last year, did we have a conversation about moving committees toward a 3-member committee?
We had a conversation during the committee diet part about moving to fewer committees and not doing just what's legally required, but focusing on what's legally required.
Okay, at this time, we have Ms. Benavides and then Ms. Jackson. Is there anybody else who would like to serve?
And that would be 3, right?
Yeah,
With you.
that would be the 3. That's the qualified number. Okay. Well, thank you. I also want to recommend meeting virtually on the 4th Tuesday of the month as needed. I have considered afternoon meetings, but wasn't sure if that would work for everyone. What would work for the interested members?
Vice President Tomorito, after 5 would work for me and probably 7:30 to 8:30, but 7:30 has already been discussed as being difficult, so.
Sorry about that. Say again what worked for you, Ms. Benavides or Board Member Benavides?
I said that after 5 works best for me and 7:30 to 8:30, but I know that that's not helpful for those taking children to school, so afternoons are best.
After 5 works for me as well, especially because it will be virtual. I think that would be fantastic.
After 5 works for me. I think that would be fine with those who are attending. And is there any other discussion? Okay, let's move it to 5 p.m. every fourth Tuesday of the month. We will now move on to our number 5 item. What?
May I ask a question?
Sure, I'm sorry, Scott.
Your intent is now to meet every month?
It says yes, as needed. Yeah,
That's a pretty significant change. We usually meet, what is it, quarterly? Or I think we met maybe 4 times a year. I know Mark read something earlier about 3 times a year is the legal
Yes.
requirement, but
Well, during the audit, once the field work begins.
then we
monthly
do, that's a monthly.
Until exit. And then traditionally, we meet 3 times a year quarterly. For other than that time.
Okay, so it really is.
So I think if the minutes can reflect the fourth Tuesday at 5 p.m. as required by law and as needed. Sorry, not every month, the fourth Tuesday of the month as required by law and as needed.
thank you. Okay, are we all set to move on? As needed for the fourth Tuesday and required by law. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 5. Presentation of the fiscal year 2023 audit financial statements. Our presenters are Mark Turnbull, Executive Director, Accounting, and Sheila Herrera, Senior Manager of Moss Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Elder. This is a presentation of the fiscal year 2023 audited financial statements. Per statute, once the audit report is officially released to the district by the state auditor, it shall be presented by the independent public accountant to the board. That is this meeting. In addition, I want to share with the board, the audit report can be found at on the state auditor website at saonm.org/auditing/audit-report-search. The audit report, the district has applied for 2 awards, which are the Association of School Business Officials Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting, and the Government Finance Officers Association Award of Excellence in Financial Reporting. These awards show the district's stakeholders that the district has gone beyond the minimums in financial reporting and preparing its financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. With that, I will now turn the meeting over to Sheila Herrera with Moss Adams.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board and the audit committee. As Mark mentioned, the financial statements have been released by the New Mexico State Auditor. The reports are dated November 9th. The due date was November 15th, and they were released by the State Auditor on December the 29th. The final reports include unmodified opinions for all of the district opinion units, including all of the component units for the district. That includes Albuquerque Public Schools Foundation and all of the 30 charter schools and their foundations. The report also includes the 6 findings that were discussed during the exit conference that we had with the audit committee back in October at this point. Those are included in the final report along with all of the charter school findings. The report is quite extensive. It does include 5 volumes of information. And so for those new members of the audit committee and board, if there are any questions at any time, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Sheila and I am the partner with Moss Adams.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to item 6. And we're going into the acceptance of the ethical advocate statistics for the period of July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Our presenter is
T.C. Riser.
T.C. Riser, Executive Director of Student Parent and Employment Service Center. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and Superintendent Elder. I'm T.C. Riser, the Executive Director of the Student Parent and Employee Service Center. As a quick overview, whistleblower complaints are filed primarily through Ethical Advocate, which is an online format. It allows for anonymous reporting. I do receive a few reports by email and phone. I follow the procedural directive when receiving reports. I review the reports and send them to the direct supervisor and the individual that is one step up in the chain of command so that 2 levels of supervision are notified. Today, I bring before you the Ethical Advocate data for July 2023 to December of 2023, which starts on page 9 of your electronic documents. As you can see, we have received 40 whistleblower complaints during the July to September 2023 timeframe and 34 complaints from October to December 2023. The reports in your packet provide a breakdown of the data by several different categories. The types and number of complaints seen are typical to the previous report timeframes over the last 3 years. I stand for questions at this time.
Ms. Riser, this is Courtney. I wonder if it would be helpful just to kind of, if you could review what it means if a complaint is confirmed versus not confirmed and open and unknown.
Thank you, Member Jackson. So when a complaint is confirmed, it means that the complaint has been reviewed and we found that the complaint is true in some format. When it's unconfirmed, we were unable to verify that it was a valid or it was that what was reported was true. And an unconfirmed, what was the third one, Member Jackson?
Open and unknown, basically just the tabs at the top.
Okay, I'm sorry. So open means that it's still being investigated, and unknown means that typically not enough information was given for the report to even be investigated, or that it was of an outside agency where we wouldn't actually do the investigation ourselves.
Thank you for that. I just thought that might be helpful for our new members to understand what the tabs across the top are, what information that's attempting to give to us in the most anonymous way possible.
Yes, Member Jackson, thank you.
And if I could ask a quick question, Ms. Riser?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I'm paraphrasing, you did say something about these results are typical of the results of the last 3 years or something to that effect. Would you mind expanding on that just a bit?
So, yes, Member Benavides, if you look at the top of the page, it does have the number of complaints by year. And when we look at the overall number of complaints, they're typical. Each period has somewhere in the 30s. There are some repeats usually where when one complaint is filed, we might get 5 or 6, which did occur in the first time frame, the July to September. There were 6 repeats that I'm aware of there. So everything falls in about the 30 range typically. So that's why I say they're typical by quarter.
Thank you.
Question, and I think you mentioned this to me when we did meet. You were saying a majority of these complaints were anonymous?
Yes,
All of them?
Chairperson Tom Morito. Yes, most of the reports are anonymous. When they come through Ethical Advocate, the majority are anonymous, I would say into the 99% range. Even when I do, reply back for additional information, typically I don't get a follow-up with any other information.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'm just curious, how effective is this system? I'm just wondering from your experience with it.
Member Dominguez, I believe that we are effective. We look into what is reported through Ethical Advocate, and it's a format where people can report anonymously, so it does let supervisors know that there is a concern in some area, and so we do look into that. So I believe that we are effective in looking into every single complaint.
I guess, do you find that it's helpful to our system, our APS system? Do supervisors find it helpful?
Member Dominguez, I haven't asked that question. A lot of the reports that we get are similar to the complaints that we might receive in the service center. I think anything where we find out there's somebody that has, an issue or a concern, it brings it to the forefront for a supervisor. So I believe that's helpful. Superintendent Elder, do you have anything you'd like to add there?
Sure, Madam Chair, Board Member Dominguez. I would say that Ms. Reiser gave you an accurate answer. We do investigate everything that's reported, and that's why you have it. You have to have some sort of anonymous tip line for people to feel that they can report things that they're concerned about. I don't have percentages, and we find a lot of these things to not be true. And a lot of times it's people reporting something they see and they don't know the context of the full situation. And so it's frustrating when you spend a lot of time investigating something and really wasn't anything there. But the flip side is there was nothing there. So that's actually a good thing, right? Because you don't want to have, unethical behaviors or certainly illegal behaviors. So it's important to have the line. You have to have it. But when we, like she says, when we catch something that's unethical or wrong and we can correct it, we're in a better space. So
Sure. And I'm just wondering it's great to have clarification when somebody has misunderstood behavior or comments, because they get we don't know if they get context, but if that person specifically, because it's anonymous, right? But there's a lot of time spent investigating, and so for that clarification to happen, just wondering how helpful or efficient it is given the time. And yet I understand why we have an anonymous tip line.
Board Member Dominguez and Madam Chair, I won't deny that it's frustrating. We know that some people use the tip line for purposes other than what it was intended, and that can be frustrating. But we also understand that it exists for a reason, like you said, and we accept that as part of the deal.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know throughout the various times you have stated here on this report, do you also look at patterns that equivalently are seen from previous reportings of the month or anything? Do we look at patterns and how those may, some of the complaints and whether there's a higher number of a specific topic that's reported more so? Do we look at those patterns?
Chairperson Morito, yes, if we see multiple complaints of the same topic or from the same school, then I will work with the supervisor for some next steps.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much for this information. We can come and see if we have any more questions. Thank you. All right, now let's move on to item number 7, overview of activity funds for Albuquerque Public Schools. And our presenter is Joyce Ramirez, manager of the activity fund support.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Elder. I did have a PowerPoint, but I'm not sure. Oh, there it is. I wasn't sure how that worked. But I wanted to take a few moments to explain what activity funds are. Activity funds are also known as student funds or student activity funds. Next slide, please. But basically, activity funds is the money that is collected at the school level. They are separate from the operating fund that is run through the district's financial system, the Lawson system. And they are maintained at the school. Activity funds will roll over year to year. So if, for instance, the cheerleading club has a balance at the end of July or at the end of June of $1,000, then the next year they will start with $1,000. So we don't lose any money that way. This is all student money raised. There are two different funds. The activity funds are at the school level. The operating funds come from the state of New Mexico and run through the district system. Next slide, please. Every school has an activity fund account. They each have a checking account where they run their funds through that account. We have accounts at probably every bank or credit union in the city of Albuquerque. We have 142 schools and 3 departments that we have activity funds for. Each one of those schools will need to balance that school statement on a monthly basis. They will turn in the statement to my office or a copy of that report. I verify totals and then collect data for end of the quarter reporting through APS accounting. We all use the same software, the accounting software called EPS, EPES. And again, I don't know what that stands for. I've never been able to find out. But we've been using this software since at least 1996, so we're all pretty familiar with it. And then again, with the schools all having checking accounts, probably 95% of our schools will also have some form of a savings account. If they have an account at a credit union, it's required that they have a savings account, so they may have a small savings. Next slide, please. These are a variety of ways that the school will raise money that is coming in at the school level. I may not have gotten all of them, but these are pretty much pretty traditional for all the schools of what kind of funds they may be taking in pretty much daily. Next slide. Any money that is collected at the school level needs to be receipted. Those receipts are then balanced on a daily basis, and deposits are made at their banks or credit unions on a daily basis. We have armored car service that runs through the school year for the high school levels, and everyone else has a school bookkeeper that will take or physically take the money to their bank. Those receipts are actually posted every day onto the EPS system. It's required that we keep a running total as current as we possibly can for these clubs. Next slide. Anytime that a club wants to spend some of their money, they are required to get an authorized purchase order, which is something that the EPS system does create for them. A purchase order will be requested by the staff. The PO will then be created by the bookkeeper using the EPS system. Employees then go make their purchases, and then receipts are given to the bookkeeper so that bills can be paid. Again, those checks are then posted to the EPS system, so we always have a current balance, and we need those to balance the bank statements. So my department is kind of threefold. We have a training side and an auditing side. As of right now, we have 10 schools that do not have a bookkeeper. So we have 1 high school, 3 elementary schools, 1 alternative, and the rest are elementaries. I think I might have said that wrong. 2 mid schools, 1 alternative, and the rest are elementary schools. And we have, so those schools, we are actually covering that position, making sure the money's counted, the money's gotten to the bank daily, and also if the school needs some sort of purchase to be made, that we're creating the PO for them. We're making sure everything's posted so that we can do month-end balancing without any problems. We also have approximately 28 schools that have brand new bookkeepers. So we also will handle the training of those bookkeepers. We have a 3-month training process where we meet with the bookkeeper, that new bookkeeper, probably 3 times a week, explain the process, explain some of the rules. And then over a period of 3 months, we will kind of back off a little bit, let them do more and more of the work. After that 3-month period, then we set up the audit side of things. So we also do auditing of the activity funds. So it's a very mobile department. It's very possible to be, at a school to do the work and then move to another school to do some training and then come back to the office and do some work there. We're very mobile, very busy. But I just wanted to give everybody kind of an overview of what activity funds actually are. There is another little sheet of paper that kind of gives you a little more information. But right now we're looking at about $9.3 million that we run through activity funds as of November, and I just balanced December, so that's about what we are running at also. And that'll be checking and savings accounts total. I stand for any questions.
I have a question. And thank you for that report and shedding some light on, I think, some important numbers and facts, like 28 new bookkeepers. That's pretty daunting, right? How many of you are there that you go out for 28 new bookkeepers?
Committee member Dominguez, there's 4 of us right now. I do have 1 open position, but there are 4 of us. A lot of what we do, we can handle in our office. Right now, we're covering West Mesa, Academy, and Wilson Middle School in our office. So we'll swing by, pick up what we need to pick up, and we can do a lot of the posting and printing in our office, and then we'll go back to the school. So yeah, it's very busy, but a lot of your other schools, the smaller elementary schools, is an in-person deal. The bigger schools, we can do a lot of the posting and printing and creating POs and that sort of thing at our office.
Right, but that's a lot of hands-on for 28 new bookkeepers. And for the 10 that have no bookkeepers, because that's on top of, then who's doing the bookkeeping?
It would be someone in our staff. We have each person is assigned a list of schools. And so that one person, that trainer, will be covering that school. So they make an arrangement with the principal as to what days they'll be at the school, and then anything that's available at that time will get current.
And so is 10 a standard number of year to year that you don't vacancies that you see, or
committee member Dominguez? No, it's to be very honest, since COVID, it seems like we've had a lot of turnover, a lot of just a lot of turnover. It just seems, and a lot of times it's hard to fill that position at the school level, so it's taking longer to fill positions that are open. People are not staying as long as they used to. It's a question. I don't know.
well, thank you to your staff for working so hard to shore up, this circumstance. I'm going to hang back and digest what I just heard.
If I might ask a question, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Ramirez, for your report. So as I was reviewing the documentation before this meeting, my first thought was how much training is involved. So thank you for clarifying that a 3-month training process. And I'm curious, so I think it includes coaching as the person is training, but what happens after that 3 months ends? Can they follow up with you? There's obviously an open line of communication. Could you just go into that a little bit? Thank you.
Yes, Committee Member Benavides. Our office is always open to anyone who wants to come in or call. Since we're out and about, I'm mostly there. I'm the one who's mostly there, so I'll take any phone call that may come in. But because they're we're open to, it's easier to contact us through email. But everything that we do is very, we have a manual that has the steps of how to proceed. It's a user-friendly system, the EP system. So a lot of it is done through email. We can put the steps down on our email, phone calls. We're available anytime somebody needs us. We've been available to do training at the school level for principals who may want us to go meet with their staff. We kind of try to make ourselves available as best we can using our own schedules.
Maybe anybody on.
Anybody online have any questions? Okay. Go to this one. So go to number 8.
Yes, I think you can thank her and move on.
Well, thank you very much for the time and for taking, I was really amazed at how much money we take in. So it was one of those things where I was like, whoa. But thank you for taking the time and thank you for your service also. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 8. We're looking at the approval for the Board of Education to convene in executive session as authorized by the Public Meetings Act, section 10-15-1, H2, to discuss limited personnel matters in connection with activity fund audits. Do I have a motion to convene in executive session?
I will make a motion for the Board of Education to convene an executive session as authorized by the Public Meetings Act, section 10-15-1, to discuss limited personnel matters in connection with activity fund audits.
I'll second. This is Josefina.
Can I have a roll call?
Janelle Astorga,
Yes.
Danielle Gonzalez,
Yes.
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Courtney Jackson,
Yes.
Scott Elder,
Yes.
Renette Apodaca,
Yes.
Heather Snedden, Ronaldo Tomorito,
Yes. I ask that all people who are not part of the executive session to please leave the meeting and announces that the streaming of the meeting will continue once the meeting reconvenes